Good morning. I don't know whether everybody can hear me. A couple of people now.
Entry and exit chimes are on. Entry and exit chimes are off.
Please let me know if you can hear me just by saying something in the chat section. Thanks, Christine. Okay, well, welcome everybody. We only have a couple of people here today for today's session. So, and I think the people that we've got one person who hasn't been to audit yet. No, we've got two people who haven't been to audit yet. So we'll look at what sort of information you'll need to know. That's what today's session is about. It's about preparing for audit and what you need to do to be prepared for audit. So, the idea is that I'd like you to ask as many questions as you like. You can do it through the chat, but you can also put your hand up and I can get you to verbally ask the question as well. Because we haven't got very many people, we'll do more question answer and more conversational based instead of through just a straight webinar. So please ask as many questions as you like. We've just started a new mock audit document where we're actually putting in what are our common things that we come up with that people need to be prepared for. So I'm going to base it on what we're going to be giving you when we do mock audit. And I know Amjad, you're there, you haven't had your mock audit yet. And Chris, you have. You've had a systems check and we'll let you get ready for a mock audit as well. So I'm just going to go through different things that you need to know in order to be prepared for audit, and in particular the documents and what to expect from the auditors when you're in audit. So we have, from our experience, we're now up to what do we have? 12. So we've just had 12 ASQA audits so far this year. And we're over 100 ASQA audits so far over the last, 3 years? 3 years since we've been operating. So during that time, what we've experienced is a lot of differences between the auditors. There's been major differences. This year, we're having a lot more, it's a lot steadier, and we're getting a lot more consistency between the auditors, which is great. And I think part of it is to do with a new audit tool that's now in place, and that's one of the things we're going to be looking at today is the audit tool that ASQA provides. So I'm just going to bring that up on the desktop so you can have a look at that. So just bring that up. So I'm on the, when you get it, it'll come up slowly. I'm on the ASQA website. If you can just let me know if you can see it. Yes, good. Okay. So I'm on the ASQA website, and on there, under Audit Templates, is the template for audit. And this is what it looks like. So this is our audit tool that we use. We base it, so our systems check tool that we use for doing internal audits, and our mock, when we're at mock audit, we use this template, and when we're at ASQA audit. So we'll have the ASQA template in front of us while we're at audit. And this is the document that they're using. So what we're finding is we're getting more consistency, and I think it's the type of questions that they're asking. So you'll see in here they've got the clause, the evidence guidance, and these are the questions, these are the things that they're looking for, and it's a yes, no, and sometimes it's not applicable. So they go through that. So it's a really good idea, that website, so on the ASQA website, download that audit report if you haven't done it already, and have a look at that, because this is what the auditors are going to use. They're going to go through this audit report, and they normally will go in order. So they'll normally start from standard 1 and go through to standard 8, and they'll go through each question in this audit report. And so they're asking things like a training and assessment strategy or strategies was provided for each training sample, product sample. So that is, they're going to say you're going to audit. So for initial registration, you're going to audit with all of your quals. For re-registration, you're going to go to audit with a selection. They're going to pick a selection of what qualifications they want to focus on in audit, and normally you're advised of that prior to audit. So they'll have that information. And that's that delivery activity statement, Chris, that they complete. So you'll complete the delivery activity statement, and then that will go to the auditor, and the auditor from the delivery activity statement will determine, so this is relevant for anybody who's doing re-reg, but your 1 year post initial as well. From the delivery activity statement is what they'll determine will be, and you'll see the delivery to activity statements on the website as well. So that's the delivery activity statement. So you'll complete this with your qualifications code. And I think I did that with you, Chris, when I came out and did your systems check. So it's the same, we use the same tool as ASQA uses. And basically you put in here the information about how many enrolments you've had. This one's slightly changed actually, Chris, because last time it was, they changed the form around a bit. They changed some of the wording around. So you put your quals in here and you put when did you deliver, how much did you deliver, how many students have you had in place, all that sort of stuff. And then from there, they'll determine what quals they're going to audit. So that's for re-reg. Okay, so you'll see in there, they've got like a whole heap of questions. So all of 1.1 to 1.4 is all about training and assessment strategies. And they're the most important. You must have every training assessment strategy in place prior to audit, and all that information that is in your training assessment strategy must be actually what you are intending to do. So if you are saying that, sorry, I'm just going to go back to me. If you say something different at audit, that how you're going to deliver and assess, and it's not in your TAS, they're not going to like that at all, because the TAS should include the information on how you're going to deliver and assess your training. They really want to know what is your model, who's your target audience, and seriously, like, really get down to your target audience. We had an audit last week where the client was saying in audit, we're going to target our cultural group and their community, and that wasn't in the TAS. And so that's the important information that we need from you to be able to put in your TAS. Really think about who are the people that you're going to be targeting in your training, and who they should be identified within your TAS. So it's not only the information about the units and how you're going to deliver them, and your delivery and assessment strategy and things like that. It's really a good outline of who your target audience is, and how have you adapted the training to meet their needs. So how are you going to deliver this training according to the needs of the target audience? Now, just because in your TAS you might have, okay, we've honed in right on this target audience, it might be a certain community sector, it might be a certain age group, it might be unemployed, different areas it might target in that. Just because it targets in that doesn't mean you can't take other people into your training. So you could, if it says, no, we're going to take unemployed, but you take recent school leavers, and you take people, existing workers and things like that, that's not going to affect. They just want to see in the TAS, what is your strategy? How do you want to deliver this training? And specifically how that training is going to meet the needs of the community in your area, but how have you designed this training in there? Okay, I'm breaking up, am I? Am I getting clearer now, Chris? Sorry, Chris has just said I'm breaking up. Are you hearing me all right, Amjad? It's better now? Good. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. Maybe I'll slow down my speech. That might help. I'm a bit excited about this. Yeah. Oh, good. Very good. Okay. So some of the things that you really need to know before audit. Before you have your audit, you should do a systems check, or we have an audit checklist. So we give you an audit checklist, and in there it identifies what you're going to need on the day of the audit. Really important that you actually complete that checklist and don't leave it to just the day before. You can do it over a series of time, but you need to do that audit checklist and just check that you've got everything in place, because what we find is you might be panicking on the day. Some auditors will look at things on screens, but there are other auditors who will not look at anything on the screen. They want to see the paper-based version. They won't let you show things on the screen. So it's really important that you have things printed. And the big thing is you need a printout full. So for initial registration, you need a full set of all of assessment tools, your trainers' assessment tools. And so this is for re-reg, but re-reg has additional things that they've got. So you should have easily accessible or printed out assessment tools for every single unit of competency. For re-reg, they're more likely they'll let you know what the quals are going to be, so you can print out the assessment tools for the quals. They won't tell you what units they're going to audit, but they'll definitely tell you what quals for a re-reg. For initial registration, it's everything. So whatever you said you're going to put on your scope for initial registration, you need to print out all the assessment tools for every single unit of competency for each qualification. And you need to have the trainer's copy, so the suggested answers, the copy with the suggested answers. Now, this is really important that you have this prepared and it looks organised. If it doesn't look organised, you're going to have a hardened auditor. They're going to come down on you a lot harder. So it's really important that you have everything organised and in place on the day of the audit. So assessment tools is one. The other one is organised staff files. You need to ensure that your staff files have certified copies of certificates and qualifications. Another thing we're getting asked lately is the resume is signed by the trainer to say that this is my resume. I certify that this is my resume. So that's something you might want to do is the resume, the trainer's resumes, they're much more concerned about your trainers than any other staff. So it's your trainer's resumes that they want signed off. And it's also certifying, yes, this is my resume. Yes, I did work in these organisations. I did do this PD, these qualifications and that sort of area. So that's something that's coming up recently is getting the trainer to sign it. It helps if your trainer is at audit because at least they can discuss it at the audit. But if they're not able to, really important, get your trainer to sign their resume. So certifying that that is their resume. The other thing you need to have in place, I talked about certified copies of certificates. Another thing that's coming up a lot now is, did you verify those qualifications? So what that means is when you get a new trainer on board and you've got the qualifications, you need to check those qualifications are actually real qualifications. And there is a policy and procedure in that under, I think it's 1.13 in the Policies and Procedures Manual, which is about recruitment. So all about recruitment and how you're going to verify the certificates. But basically what you do is you go onto training.gov.au and I'm just going back to desktop again. So you go onto training.gov.au and you search the RTO. So you should find the RTO and you can do it by name or code. So I'm just going to type in any code here. Let's see what we get. No, didn't get anything. No, can't find any. Okay, so I'm just going to type up put in my old RTO. So if someone got a qualification from this RTO, you should check, is the qualification on the scope? And delivery, go to delivery. So if you go to delivery, you should check, is that qualification on scope? Is when the certificate was issued, was it within the time frame that they actually had it on their scope? Because what can happen is we had this one happen recently where a trainer had a qualification that was on the scope of registration. Oh, it wasn't on the scope of registration during the time that the student was issued that certificate. It was actually superseded and the date on it was out of date. So they had a date of it this year and that it was actually superseded at the end of last year. And they're the things you should be checking. Do they have the qualification on the scope? Did they have it on their scope during, so this one says, you know, this one ceased and this one commenced on this date. So from the 31st of March is when this qualification went on the scope. So if this qualification was issued before the 31st of March, then it would be irrelevant. It's not actually correct. So this is what you should be doing. You should be verifying the qualifications that the trainers have, checking in on training.gov.au. The other thing you can do is then ring the referees. So it's another way of checking that, ringing the referees and verifying their skills and experience. So that it's really important that you do 2 reference checks for every trainer that you have in place, and that you have a record of that reference check. Now, if the trainer is you, then that's fine, and you're the CEO, that's fine, and you're going to be the audit, you can discuss that. But if the trainer is someone you've hired, you should have verified, ring their referees. Now, we've just changed on Unicorn the recruitment checklist, and I've made some major changes to the recruitment checklist. And what I've done is basically I've put in there that different questions for reference checking, and I've also got qualifications have been verified, and it's got a whole heap of things on the checklist. I'll try and pull up that form so you can have a look at it. So let's have a look. Okay, I'll just try and pull that up. It's a really good idea. We've got a couple of new forms that come out. Actually, I released a couple of forms last week. Can you let me know, did you get an email that said that there were some new forms on Unicorn and that you should download them? Because we're a bit concerned that we're uploading these forms and you're not getting them, and we need to notify the developers if you're not getting them. Can you please let me know just by typing now? Did you get a notification last week? I've been notified. You're notified. Okay, great work. All right. You got it this morning. Okay, great. Jade. All right. I'm trying to share my screen again, and it's not letting me do it. Desktop again. Okay. Okay, so this is the new checklist that we've got, and you'll see here the employee file checklist. So this has changed now. So I've got reference checks. So that was same. What I've done is put down the bottom verify qualifications. So down here, and have been verified, and that you've completed a professional development plan. You should be doing a professional development plan every year, and the schedule is the really important one, is making sure you've got a record of the professional development that they're undertaken. So it's really important that you've completed this before your audit and have it on your files, or something like this. If you've got something different, Chris, I'm not sure what you've got in place, but this form is really important. So every trainer that you have in place must have one of these completed on their file before the audit, and including reference checks. So you need to put the reference checks on there as well, so that they can see that you verified so we verified the qualifications up the top, and down the bottom we've verified that they actually have the skills and experience that they've said they have. Now, if you know the trainer, or it's a trainer that's been with you for a while, what you can put instead is you've got there. We have the trainer profile and record that includes all the PD. Excellent, great work. So you've got a record of that in there. So ongoing, you should be keeping the PD record and have it on your your trainer's file. So you should have that in place. Okay. If your preparedness for audit is going to be really determined by what documents you have in place in your staff file, so they need to be really organised. You need to have them in there really organised. Okay, now something else that's really important that we find is a lot of people get pretty stressed and tired before audit because they're doing a lot of work before audit. And one thing that I'm saying that is really important before audit is make sure you get plenty of sleep, because we've had audits where we get to audit and our client has had hardly any sleep. They've been running around trying to get all their documents ready, and then they can't perform very well because they get to audit and they're very tired. So it's really important that you get plenty of sleep before your audit as well. It's just something I'm starting to tell people now, because we're just finding that we get to audit and you're not getting enough sleep, and it's really important that you get plenty of sleep before your audit. Okay, so some of the things, other things that you're going to need. So before your audit, the auditor is going to contact you and they're going to require some documents before they come along to audit. And they're going to be things like training and assessment strategies. They're going to want resumes and certificates of your trainers and assessors, and the staff, a completed staff matrix or something similar. So profile is fine, the trainer profile you can use as well. They're going to expect that to be ready before audit. They'll want to see some of your marketing material. So we send over the course flyer, but any marketing material, you need to send that over as well, and they need to have a look at that. And then they'll want a copy of the policies and procedures. So, and that will be the Q&C manual. So you send over a copy of the Q&C manual. Really important, any documents you send to your auditor must be in PDF format. And the reason why we say that is because some of the auditors are also consultants, so they could take the material. But also the other reason why is because PDF you can open on any system, whereas sometimes Word files can get corrupted. So if you send it over in PDF, they're more likely to be able to open it and use it. And also they can then scan, they don't need to scan it, they can just upload that document straight away, wherever it's a Word document, onto their system. So when you go on to ASQA, they've actually got a back end where they upload all their documents on there. So it's really important that you have all those documents ready before audit, and that they're ready to be submitted before your, so Chris, when you submit, so you're submitting into September, you need to have all of that ready before you go. And I think you're pre-prepared, so you should be fine with what you're going to send. But, Jade, I'm not sure what you've got in place at the moment, but you need to make sure you've got all your files ready as well. And your CLO will guide you on that. We're doing on 27 July. So you've got an audit on 27 July? Is that right? Is your audit on the 27th July, Amjad? No, good. You know, I was really freaking out then. Okay, good. Okay, so because I'd prefer that we actually can attend the audit. 20th of August. Great, good work. Okay. All right, so you need, yeah, okay, so your pre-audit docs are due. Pre-audit docs are due 27th of July. All right, awesome. Okay, so your CLO will help you to make sure you get all those documents ready beforehand. So you should be working with those. Okay, some of the other things. Really important area that when they come to audit, and this is a new sort of section with the new standards. It's been around for a while, but the new standards that really enforced it is industry consultation. They want to see evidence of your industry consultation. So you need to make sure you've got all this ready before you come in, and you need to update it. So Chris, if they haven't done any industry consultation recently, I know I've seen your files, actually you've got some really good industry consultation there, but they're going to want to need to see it at audit. So that's doing the, so we've given you a range of strategies for industry consultation, and that includes, you know, going to workshops, like this sort of thing, seminars, doing industry surveys, getting letters of support. The letters of support are not as valuable as your industry surveys. And we've got a new industry survey template that's going to be coming up this week. So I recommend that you use the new industry survey template. And what they want to do is they want to see that the industry consultation you're doing is with owners, managers, or directors of the company, the people who will be recruiting your students following completion. So they're the type of people you want to get do your industry surveys with, is so that you're collecting data from people who your training is going to directly relate to. So what sort of outcomes do they need. So we've got a new survey coming out, which will be a lot more targeted at employers and recruitment managers and things like that. So we'll have that coming out soon. So it's really important that you have, it's really easy to accessible at your audit is like an industry consultation folder. So it'll be a folder of different information that you've got in there. And I know, Chris, you've got a link, a hyperlink to a spreadsheet. That's good as well. So if you've got some sort of document that you can show the auditor of how you've done your industry consultation. During the audit, they want to hear you talking about industry consultation, who you've spoken to, what did you learn, how you've improved your training assessment based on that consultation. They're the sort of things they want to hear during audit. So be prepared for those type of questions. They're going to want to hear that from you, and they're going to want to hear that you've done a lot of consultation that is pulled, you've pulled that data in, use that data to improve your training assessment based on your industry consultation. And they really want to hear that at audit, but they also want to see evidence of that. So they could be a diary where you've written in the diary. It could be diary appointments in your phone, so where you've got the appointments in your phone. So I was trying to find my phone. So it could be that you've got appointments in your phone, they can see that, but they also want to see notes of that. And that leads me to the next really important one, is make sure that you have copies of minutes of meetings before your audit. So that's for initial and re-registration. So for initial registration, they're going to want to see that you have actually completed some minutes. It's not a standard that you must have done that, but under 2.2 in your policies and procedures, it says that you're going to hold monthly meetings. We call them quality and compliance meetings, which you can rename, but we call them quality and compliance because they tie in with the Q&C manual. So the Q&C meeting, you have an agenda and minutes template. You should be using that and actually have some minutes before your audit. And we're finding this more and more so this year. And in that, in the minutes, you've also got industry consultation, and that's where you can tie in all the conversations you're having in hallways with industry. It might be the casual phone conversation that you're having with people. That's where you tie in all your industry consultation is at that monthly meeting. So it might have been that last month you, during the last month, you had meetings with 4 different people and you could see that on your phone. So at the Q&C meeting, you should be bringing up those appointments, discussing, okay, yes, I met with blah, blah on this date, and we discussed training and assessment and how that could meet their needs. Or it could be, and we discussed how we can adjust our training specifically for their organisation. Or it could just be something like, oh, we heard that there's a change in the industry sector. So, for example, in childcare industry at the moment, they're talking about taking away the Cert 3 and only having the diploma in early childhood. And it could be that's something that you've spoken to someone about. And the best place to record that, because they're casual conversations, is record it on your minutes at your meeting. So you can, and what they want to see is not only that you've recorded those meetings, but it was what you learned and how you're going to improve your training and assessment based on that industry feedback that you've received. Okay, I'm hoping that all makes sense. Please jump in with any questions if you have any questions. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, so the other thing that you need to have, delivery and assessment plans are also really important. So attached to your training and assessment strategy should be some sort of delivery and assessment plan, or it might be a session plan for single units. That delivery and assessment plan is how you plan to deliver and assess your training. For example, what order are you going to be delivering the units in? So they want to know what order they're going to be in and what week or what day you're going to deliver those units, and how much time are you going to spend on the unit. They want to know that. What assessment tools go with that, what training materials and resources go with that. So you need to map it right down to the unit level and how you're going to deliver that. Now you can cluster as well. So if you're clustering some units as well, so you could do it by a cluster. So it might be, 3 units that you're going to deliver collectively together, and it might be over a 1-week period that you're going to deliver that, and then you do one assessment at the end. So you can do it that way as well. But it needs to be really clear to the auditor, what is your plan for delivery and assessment? And even if you've been doing it in the past, it should be a clear outline. You want to make it as easy as possible when you're explaining it to the auditor what you do and how you're going to deliver and assess. The easier you make it in your explanation, the easier your audit's going to be, because they don't have to dig. They're going to, you don't want them digging around trying to figure out what is it you're going to be doing and how you're going to deliver and assess. Okay, other things you need to get prepared. I talked about the staff matrix. It's really important that you have the staff matrix or trainer profile in place. And if they don't hold the current qual, so as in the training package is superseded and there's been a new qualifications that's come out, you need to map the trainer's skills and experience to the unit, right down to the performance criteria of each unit. And it's a lot more detailed. Whereas if they hold the current qual, so they've updated, it's the current qual that they're going to be delivering and assessing, then you only need to map to the qualification level, not down to the unit level. And your CLO will discuss that with you as well, but it's really important that you have it down to the unit level. Is it important to have a website? Okay, for initial registration, you don't have to have a website. With your website, if you do have it and you have it on your materials, they'll want to see that the website is compliant. So when you go under standard 4.1 in the policies and procedures, it actually tells you what should be on your website. And it's also under 5.1 as well. 5.1, so 4.1 is all your marketing. 5.1 is everything that the student needs to have prior to course commencement in order for them to make an informed decision prior to course commencement. So you need to look at 4.1 and 5.1 with what needs to be on your website. I recommend for initial registration that you don't have your website up live until after the audit. Otherwise, they then audit your website as well. And if they can see that you've got a website, so we've got it on your marketing material that you have a website, they'll generally check out your website before they come to audit. So they would have already reviewed it. So the really important, if you do have a live website, is make sure that on that website, because for initial registration, you're not an RTO yet. So you can't actually tell people that you're an RTO yet. You can't actually put the logos on the website yet. So that's the thing, it's a catch-22 sort of situation. So what I recommend, Amjad, is that you actually don't develop your website, but don't have it live until we get your registration, and get your CLO to have a look at it, because they'll be able to check it to make sure that it actually meets all the requirements. Answered your question, Amjad? I've actually answered more than. Do they need to visit the office to see file systems and any other stuff? Okay, so yes, that's a good question. Recently we had an audit where we tell our clients always to have your audit in a training room. It's best, if you've got a boardroom, that's okay as well, but it's good to have your audit in a training room. And the reason why is because they can see how you're going to deliver and assess, and it's really important that they see the type of environment that you're planning on using for delivering your training. We advised that of a client a couple of weeks ago. We set them up in a training room. Their head office was at home, but their training room was where they're going to deliver the training. The auditor said, oh, why didn't you have the audit at your head office? And we explained, well, the head office is in a home and we wanted to show you the training room. Oh no, I'd be fine if we had the audit, this is the auditor, I'd be fine if you had the audit in your home, because I need to see where your files are going to be stored. So they wanted to see the head office and where the student files are going to be stored. But then I've had other auditors come to me saying, no, I don't want to be in the home. I don't want to be in someone's home. I'd rather be in a training room because I want to see how you're going to deliver and assess. So we're still going with the strategy if you should have a training room. You do need an office. We've had auditors say they want to visit the head office and they want to see where the files are, but none of them go out there. What they do want to see is maybe a photo of the filing cabinet or a photo of the receipt. So if you have a receipt, so that they can see the filing cabinet that you're going to be storing the records in. So from my point of view, and for the majority of the auditors that we've had, the training room is the most important area of where they want to go. Okay, I'm hoping I answered your question there, Amjad. So what we might do now, instead of me going through any more questions, I'm going to try and see if I can get you live. I'd like you to ask questions, so that I can answer those questions. So I'm just going to come up with another one, but I'd like you to come up with a few questions, and then I'll just answer your questions, and I think that will be best. Okay, the next one you come up with, Judd, is do they ask any questions from the trainer? Now, what I find is we prefer the trainers to be at audit, and the reason why is they're able to explain their skills and experience and their background. It's really hard to show that in a resume, and it's really hard to show it in certificates and things like that. And this is more important for initial registration than re-registration. Re-registration, you should have lots of documents on the files already, and they're harder at initial registration when it comes to trainers and assessors. What I find is they will ask questions like their industry background. How long, they're not concerned about training and assessing, their background in training and assessing. They want to know that they hold the qualification, so they hold the certificate for a training assessment, but they don't necessarily need any background in training and assessing. They want to know, unofficially, the trainers and assessors should have a minimum of 3 years industry experience, and that's what they want to hear. They want to hear the 3 years industry experience. So, for example, if they're and currency as well, they want currency of that 3 years industry experience. So if they've been a childcare worker for 20 years or 10 years, for example, they've been a childcare worker for 10 years, but they haven't done any childcare work in the last 3 years, that's not current. So they haven't got the experience of the currency in the industry. So yes, they want to talk to your trainer, and they want to talk about their skills, qualifications. And also what we recommend is that you get your trainer to explain the assessment tools. And the reason why is because then they can see that your trainer actually knows the assessment tools. So it's really important that you get the assessment tools to the trainer before the audit, so that they don't need all of them, they just need an example, so that they can get their head around the materials and get a good understanding of what those materials are. I'm happy that answered your question, Judd, but our most successful audits are where the trainer is at the audit. It just goes much smoother. So Chris has asked a question, can you explain the difference between volume of learning and nominal hours? Oh, yes, very good. Okay. So in Victoria in particular, there's a nominal hours website that you can go to, and the nominal hours website is the Victorian Purchasing Guide website, and the I'll try and pull it up for you so you can have a look. So that's where we get our nominal hours from. So I'm just going to pull that up for you. Okay. Just going to show my desktop again, and I'll show you that Victorian Purchasing Guide. Okay, so this is, most states around Australia are using this Victorian Purchasing Guide. What used to happen was every state had these nominal hours for every unit of competency, and then when ASQA came in and we didn't have our individual state regulatory bodies, everyone stopped doing it. So they stopped using this nominal, well, they didn't stop doing it, they stopped updating their nominal hours. Victoria, because they're still under VRCA, the Victorian VRQA, they've still got the purchasing guides, and this is what they use for the Victorian government funding side. Have you used this one, Chris, to get your nominal hours? I'll wait for Chris to answer that question, but it should be one that you should be using to work out the hours. So what it is you find the qualification. Let's find one, let BSB, and you go in and you open it up. You didn't, okay. I'd recommend it. Oh, Judd, we would have done it for you. Oh, yes, you did. Okay, so Chris did. Explaining a lot to others is a bit of a problem. Okay, all right. So Judd, this is what we use. So when we write your TAS, we use this for writing the TAS. So we look at the nominals in here. So they'll have every unit, and so they'll have the unit and they'll have the hours in there. So that's what we use. So you use it, Chris, but explaining it to others. Okay, all right. So according to the ASQA auditor, they don't really care about the nominal hours. I even had an auditor last week. They don't care about the hours per unit. They weren't worried about that at all. Sorry, can you repeat as you were breaking up? Okay. So, yeah, the auditor we had last week didn't require hours per unit, but that's unusual. Normally they want to know hours per unit. They wanted more so to know the total volume of learning, which is where they were coming from. So I'm just trying to see if we've got, I'll go to the audit tool. That's what I'll do. I'll go to the audit tool. Okay, so when you go to the audit tool, you'll actually see, so that's 1.8. And they just say things like, did they the total volume of learning, and the volume of learning. So the volume of learning is outlined, is in the user guide actually, and I might be able to download the user guide. Good idea if they put that on the front page. So in the user guide, it actually outlines what the volume of learning requirements are. It's also in the AQF handbook. So if you have a look at the AQF handbook, you'll see the user guide in there as well. That's in there. It should be under 1.8. So volume of learning, and I'll get there. There should be a table in here that actually explains it. Oh, good. It's not. I'm sure it was in there. Sorry, I'll just see if I can find this volume of learning. I'm not going to find it there. Okay, so the volume of learning is, for a certificate 2, it should be delivered in no more than 6 months, no less than 6 months, sorry. You can do more, you just can't do less. And I find the learning table, here we go, right, okay. Okay, so the volume of learning is, for a certificate 1, 6 months to a year, certificate 2, 6 months to a year, certificate 3, 1 to 2 years, certificate 4, 6 months to 2 years. So that's basically it. And you'll see these hours underneath. That's basically the hours that they're looking for. So they're looking for, in your 6 months to a year, you've got 600 to 1,200 hours. And that volume of learning that's not just face-to-face hours. That is self-paced learning. That might be pre-course requisite. So it could be that they have to hold another certificate before they come in, or they have to have certain industry experience before they come into this qualification. And that's how we bring that volume of learning out, or the face-to-face hours down, because we look at the total volume of learning. And they've certainly come down hard on this this year with the volume of learning. One thing that I found is, you're competing against other RTOs who aren't delivering within that volume of learning. They're delivering a certificate 3 within 6 months when it should be 1 to 2 years that they're delivering in. You've got to sell it as 1 year minimum that you're selling your course as a certificate 3, and then your competition are delivering it in only 6 months, might be. And so for you, you've got to compete with them. Now, you can put a complaint into ASQA, and there's a lot of RTOs that do complain about other RTOs at ASQA, because the only way we're going to get this volume of learning thing in place is by all the RTOs aligning, and they're not all aligning at the moment. But it's basically this table here, Chris, that you need to focus on. It's looking at, for a certificate 3, for example, they must be 1 to 2 years, and it should be the total volume of learning is 1,200 to 2,400 hours. So what we do for childcare, for example, for the 1,200 hours, we get to just over 1,200 hours. We do, I think it's 120 hours for Cert 3 in childcare. It's 120 hours of work placement, so that takes 120 hours out of your 1,200 there. And then we have self-paced hours. We average about 10 hours per unit, and then you work out your face-to-face hours on there. And then, and you can do more hours than so the work placement hours might be 120 hours. You could make it more. If you wanted to make it more, you could do it more. You could also have it that as a prerequisite that they should be working in the industry or something like that as well. Does that explain, Chris? I'm hoping. And does anybody else have any more questions? I hope you're not breaking up. Must be a bit of a delay between me talking and you guys being able to type. Okay, so that's volume of learning. This is another good one to read before audit. Is the user guide. Anything about section 9? Oh, is this your 9B certificate? Yeah. Okay. 9B. Okay. So in Victoria, in order to deliver training and assessment in Victoria, you need to have a 9B certificate, and that 9B is based on council regulations. So you need to go to your council, and there's something to do with years, how old the building is and things like that. Although we had an audit last week and no one asked about the auditor, and it was in Victoria, and the auditor didn't ask about a 9B certificate at all. And thinking about it, I haven't actually been getting anybody asking. It is before 96. I don't know what that means. Yeah, we haven't been getting them asking about the 9B recently. What it is it depends on how old the building is. 96, that's what you're talking about. Okay. So before 96, you don't, if the building's older than 96, you don't need a 9B. Is that what you're saying, Amjad? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you know more than I do. Okay. So it depends. Yes, I think so. Okay. So the audit we had last week, we were in a really old building, so they most probably didn't even ask. That's why they didn't ask, is because it was an old building. We were getting it a lot at audit last year, where they were always asking for 9B, and they wanted to see the lease agreement and they wanted to see the 9B certificate, whereas this year we're not getting that. I haven't had that asked this year, and even at the audit last week. So I don't know where the stand is at that. I've also had in New South Wales where they've asked not a 9B, but they've asked if you've had council approval to deliver training and assessment in your training rooms. So they're the sort of things that you're asking. I think the best place for you to go, Jad, is go to your council, find out whether you do have an 9B. Now, Jad, are you planning on having your head office separate from your training room? I think you are. And the training room you're using, are you just hiring a training room? You're just hiring a training room? And do you have a lease agreement in place now? You have a lease agreement in place now? I'll try and get volume going. No, just a contract. That's fine. A contract's fine. If you can have the contract in place, that's fine. I'm going to see if I can get you guys to, I can't remember how. I'm trying to see if I can get you live and talking, but it doesn't seem to want to let me do that. No. Oh, okay.
All attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
Okay. So now if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself. This might be a bit easier. Did you have any more questions around that, Amjad? Nope. Okay, Chris, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask with pre-audit? Sure, it stopped. What stopped? Volume. Okay. Or you might have to just keep typing. I've stuck up the whole system now. Okay. All right. So we've only got 5 minutes left. So if you've got any other questions about preparing for audit, or any other questions. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to show you, if you've got no more questions, I just wanted to show you something else about the background of Unicorn. Do you have any other questions? Oh, good, great, thank you. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the back end of Unicorn and just some things on there that I wanted to show you on how to use it. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I would like to ring you afterwards. Okay. This is your chance, Amjad, to ask questions. You've got me here. Okay. All right, I'm just going to show the desktop. Okay, so I just wanted to show you some things in the back end of Unicorn. This is just a dummy client that we've got here, set up in here. I just want to show you different things that you can do in here. This section here is tasks that you should be completing. So when you log in, you might see some tasks there. And if you, so I don't think I've got any there at the moment, but if there was some tasks, there'd be a list of tasks here. It's really important that you get onto those tasks. And it'd be good if I actually had some I could show you. What you do is it will have a task there, and then you click on the task, and then it will give you more information about that task and what you need to do. These are the same ones for initial registration. This is the same one that's in the Kickstart guide. So it gives you tasks that you need to do, and we can keep track. And your CLO is going to keep track of these tasks and see what tasks that you're completing. So if you haven't completed them, they're going to know that you haven't done them. So you need to log in and have a look at your tasks and complete them as you go along. So if we have a look at some packages, you can actually click on, so we've got it, this one's a dummy one, so it's got a few packages, but you can click on the package and you can actually view the documents directly from that package. So I'll find one that's actually live. I haven't got any live. Not a good idea. There we go. I've got a live one. Okay, so you can click on your documents here. You should know that you can click on these here. This came up this week. People didn't know that they can download all. This section here is where you can download every single document. So you don't need to click on each one individually. Well, that's more for if we've updated a document. Then you can download the individual document as well. So thanks, Chris. Chris just said great resources, great. So you can actually download all your documents. So you just click on download all offers. It comes up as a zip. You open up the zip and then all your documents are in there. So that's a quicker way of being able to download the documents without having to go through individually. That was just something that came up and I was just a bit concerned that people didn't know that they could do that. The other thing we've got now is this, this is a link to our Facebook page. Even if you don't have Facebook, you can log on here and you can have a look at our latest post. So this was one on the weekend. The team and I had a team dinner last Friday. So we had a post about our team dinner. It was very good. We have a great team and it was really awesome to be able to get our team all together. And so you can see a photo of all of our team in there as well. But this is our Facebook feed. Really important. I like it. This is where I post most of our updates is on here. So even if you don't have Facebook, you can jump on here and have a look at it through here as well. Here we've got the contact details. So it should be who your client liaison officer is. Their contact details are in there as well. And we have a bit of details about, it looks like I need to update mine because my email address isn't in there. And then we have all sorts of information about your contact there, and LinkedIn as well. So if the staff member has LinkedIn, we'll also have the LinkedIn in there as well, so you can use that. Coming soon will be an Ask Viv forum. Hopefully it will be within the next couple of weeks. And there's going to be a forum on this dashboard. And this Ask Viv forum is where you can ask any questions of any time of the day and night, and you can post, and it's going to be like an interactive forum, a bit like Facebook, but it's only going to be our clients, and you're going to have a user that you can set up, and you can set up that user however you like. So you can have your real name on there, or you can just have your company name, or you can have a fake name if you wanted to, but everyone's going to be able to see each other's comments. And the idea is that we're going to have a community of our clients who can discuss and ask questions, because what we find is a lot of our clients ask the same questions. So the idea is that they can post a question and you can learn from each other. And that forum will be coming up very soon. And I'm very excited about it because I think it's going to be a great way for us to be able to keep in contact with you more often. One of the reasons why we're doing the webinars is so that I can have more contact with you, and so that you can ask me those questions that you find might be a bit difficult, or you might find, I like you to ask the questions to the CLOs, and we actually have CLOs who sit on these webinars as well, so that they can learn things. But ask questions to the CLO, but you can also ask questions to me, and it gives you an hour a month where you can have an interaction with me, and you can ask me different questions that might be concerning you. So that, and as I said, most of our clients have the same questions. So by answering your question, we've also answered someone else's question. So I'd love to see, like, we only got 2 people attending this webinar this week, which is quite disappointing. I'd like to see more people attending, and I want these webinars to be about what you need. Our next webinar is going to be about the Q&C meeting and the importance of holding those monthly meetings, and what data you should be reviewing at those monthly meetings, because I'm finding that one's a really important one, and it's something that people need to know more about. So I'm hoping you got a lot out of today. And at the end of this session, it's going to ask you to complete a survey. And on that survey, it's giving me more suggestions about what you would like at the webinars. But it also gives us a bit of background about what you thought about this webinar and what you would like in future. So thank you very much for attending today. If there's any last questions, great. Yeah, thank you, Chris. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. It was great to catch up with you in Albury a couple of weeks ago. And I'm looking forward to working with you again soon. And Amjad, I think your mock audit is going to be conducted by our new auditor. We've got a new auditor, Jacob, who will be doing some of our audits, and you'll be getting to meet him soon. And then hopefully we'll be able to get out to your audit as well. So thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to catching up with you again in the future. Thank you. Excellent.